Monday to apply for candidacy, basically. So once you're a candidate, you get to take your ordination exams, and once you pass those, then you get to apply for an installation. So you and your first church that you're installed at, that's when you become ordained.
Okay.
So there's still, I have at the end of January, I start my CPE, which is clinical pastoral education, which is the final thing other than ordination exams and going before the presbytery that I need to do, so but I accomplished a big chunk of stuff to do. There's 6 papers that you have to write for your application to candidacy. And so you have to write about your statement of motivation, your statement of faith. Hello, everyone. What it means to be Presbyterian. Lots of papers to write. So it's been a busy week. Hello, Katie.
Hi, Katrina.
Hello, Lyle.
Hi.
Hi, Larry. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm going to set up my phone a little thing better, I think. Let's see if I can do that. Is that better? A little better.
Yeah.
Hi, Katie.
Hi. Hi, Mike. Good to see
Hi.
you. Hi, Roger. And Larry, I've seen you.
Good morning, Katie.
Good morning.
One of the things I like about Zoom is it helps me get to know everybody's names easier, because I can just sit and stare at the names.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
That's true.
Like Connie iPad.
Yeah.
Mike, have you been doing much pottery?
No, I was just telling Larry I'm trying to transition into photography these days.
Oh, that's right. Sure.
Mainly because I don't have to worry about what to do with the output. I can just shove it in the cloud and not worry about it again.
So are you still getting more cameras, or are you happy with the cameras you've got, Mike?
Oh, I like the camera. I was accumulating lenses. Now I'm trying to figure out if I want to haul most of them over to National Camera Exchange and get rid of them. I've kind of settled down to just a couple that I use all the time anyways.
Uh-huh.
Will
But I
they
just want to
give
play
you
around with
anything
them.
for them?
What's that?
Will they give you anything for lenses?
Something. I'm not sure how much.
Okay.
But I ended up with a lot of them for free. So anything, and just if someone else could use it, that's fine, I also have a couple of really old cameras. I don't know if they'd have any interest in that or not. Like 1800s cameras.
Wow.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Larry.
Hi,
Hi,
Ben.
Ben.
Oh, hi, Katrina and Katie. Hi, Katie. No, Mike.
You're very color coordinated with your walls there, Ben.
Oh, well, it's Johan's room. So he wanted red, and he got it.
You almost blend right into the wall there.
Oh, maybe that's my purpose.
So, Gene and Lyle, you are muted, and we don't see your picture.
How do you know they're there?
Well, they were there.
I saw them.
Hand.
Yeah, they were there earlier. I suspect maybe they walked away for a bit.
I suspect Gene got out of bed and
You know us too well, Larry.
You're about right. I'm not very focused yet this morning.
Ah,
Oh, that's
All
right.
right.
It's earlier. for you
It
guys.
is an hour earlier here, so we have a little excuse.
Yeah, sure you do.
When I got up, the sun wasn't even up. It was like,
You don't have any sun.
Lyle tells me, we're approaching the shortest day.
Yes,
We are.
that's right.
Yeah,
December 21st.
That's right.
I remember Bill Burniking told me, look at it this way, from now on, it's up after the 21st.
Yeah. How many minutes does that equate each day?
It isn't linear. It's, Google it sometime. It's kind of amazing. It happens at different rates.
Okay, it does.
Yeah.
Connie?
Mike, you're in charge today, aren't you?
Yeah, I thought it was just an open discussion though.
It is.
So
You're in charge?
discuss.
Oh,
Hi, Daryl.
Connie?
yeah.
I'd like, I would like to tell you that Peg Bowden, she's an activist and author down here, has cancer and is in hospice.
Oh, no.
We
How
just-
terrible.
I know, it is.
Oh,
So,
she just written so well about the border issues. It's terrible. That's terrible news. Oh my
I know
goodness.
it.
Oh,
I should have texted you instead of right here, but I wanted you to know.
thank you. Have you seen, what is it like down there?
Well,
Sound like it
Tucson's ICU beds are full. I mean, there's not a whole lot going on with the immigration stuff. Everybody's hopeful that when Biden gets in, some of the stuff, the DACA things and stuff now have been overturned by the court. So everybody's kind of hopeful about
Yeah.
order and find matching parents and kids that were separated. And
Good.
so it's still terrible, but the focus is on the COVID.
Yeah. I hear that Trump is rushing to get his wall done.
Oh,
He's not.
Oh,
I just hope they stop when Biden is sworn in and stops any further.
That would be the plan. Yeah.
Let's see, they're still tearing up hills in the desert and whatever to do it.
yeah.
Hi,
Awful.
Lucille.
Oh, hello, hi, hi, Jean.
Hey,
Hi, hello,
Hey.
everybody.
Hey, Lucio.
Hi.
There's Carol.
Carol,
Chris, hey, Chris.
Lori, Judy.
Are we having no minister today? Is that the idea?
Well, I don't know. Brennan had said he would be around, which I thought meant online. I don't know where else I would find him if I had a
He's
question.
around.
Hey, Luke, we're all ministers.
That's true.
There you go.
That's
There you
right.
go, Chris.
That's what the
Is there a
sign used to
host
say,
this
right?
morning?
Well, I'm the host.
You're the host. Hi,
But it-
Mike.
Hi, but it was just meant to be open discussion time.
You don't have a full presentation?
No.
I'm kidding.
His
Oh,
job is
he-
to keep us all in order.
Oh, I'm sure Mike can thrill us with all his travel stories and his pottery and his sport photography now. I hear he's gonna.
Everything.
What happened to
He's
Jean?
got lots of talents he can share.
Over here.
Can he
Last
show
I-
us the pottery, some of his pottery on the online here today? I'd love to see his pottery.
You can see it right
Hi.
behind him.
Yeah, I can see a whole shelf.
I can't see it. Let's see, I'll go.
Mike, you told me once that you were planning to move to France. Where does that plan stand?
Well, everything's kind of on hold at the moment.
France doesn't want him now.
Yeah, no other country wants us now.
Did you spend some time there, Mike?
Well, only a month when I was in
Oh,
8th
okay.
grade. Not enough time.
Sure.
Hey,
Why,
Lyle,
why,
Place I have of Mike's that's in our living room, and we have
oh,
a beautiful bowl to go with
Beautiful.
it.
very good, very good.
Beautiful
Yes,
stuff. Love
Lovely.
it.
yes. Oh, that's wonderful. I like the glaze on that,
It's
Mike.
beautiful. It's got a stripe. Well, then you can see that it's just
Very nice.
beautiful.
Yes, the color is
Beautiful.
very, I think, quite original, I would say. Yeah.
I have a
The cat
beautiful
can't
pot.
get it.
I have a beautiful pot that Fred, do any of you remember Fritz Reindell?
yeah, yeah, sure.
Sure.
I have a gorgeous bowl that Fritz made, and I think of them. I wonder what's happened to the Reindells. Or Helen.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a beautiful photo of when we went to Mexico of the two girls standing in the doorway of the church. It's just, yeah, we were way up in the kind of the mountainous area where the indigenous people were. And yeah, it was a picture. You would like it, Chris. I should bring it over sometime and show it to you.
Morning, Dick.
Morning, Dick. Yes.
He's muted.
I want to know if Lyle and Jean are making it through the fact that it's only in the 60s and during the day.
Well, we're trying hard not to complain.
We feel so sorry for you.
We appreciate that.
It's windy, so we can't eat on the patio either.
Oh,
Bummer.
oh.
Yes, we know we're very lucky. Every day I think I'm so glad I'm not shut in. That's the bottom line for me.
Well,
Cut in, Jean.
not shut in. You just
No,
Oh,
right.
you've had some really nice ones.
Yeah, you've had good stuff.
I talked to Linda Lemke yesterday and regarding the Nordic walking poles, and they had just gone for a hike in Iravaca, and they're
Yeah.
in Green Valley. And
We had
December.
last year we were out on a search with the Green Valley Samaritans and stopped at a bar cafe for lunch in Iravaca. And here we are, you know, in this little bitty town almost at the Mexican border. And in walked Linda and Dan Lemke. We were both very surprised. So they must be here again this winter, huh?
They're there until the end of December. Then they go to Phoenix to see one of their kids, and then they go skiing for 6 weeks in Montana.
sounds hard, yeah.
Last year they were talking, or when we saw them, they were talking about thinking about buying a place down here. But
they said no because they're not there enough, you know, because they have to go skiing.
Yeah, right. I know that.
I'm thinking about another local celebrity, and that we've been watching Almanac, and Karen Larson has been featured for the last 2 weeks, which is
And what?
yeah.
And what?
Well, racism in rural Minnesota. So she's apparently in where? Pine Island?
Yeah, Pine Island.
She has a parish someplace that has had some competing demonstrations between Black Lives Matter and the
Citizens of Pine
other,
Island.
yeah.
Well, there's
Linda Lemke was in the newspaper
Yeah.
Yesterday.
that Nordic walking.
Right.
She goes way back in with Huygards on instructing the people.
Their fireplace, Don, reminds me of Christmas. It looks lovely.
Yes.
All right.
I looked around my living room yesterday and thought, it doesn't look the least bit like Christmas is coming. And and it's like, I mean, some other things in the house too, but I realized you walk in the house and it's like, you know, first thing, you don't see anything. Of course, now it's not many people walking in my house. And it's like, oh yeah, there's this thing called Christmas that's coming. I mean, that's the way it feels. It doesn't feel like Christmas. I mean, it doesn't feel like holidays. It's just like, oh, okay.
Well,
I mean,
Lucille,
it isn't like I feel, it isn't like I'm down and depressed and all. It's like, oh, something's going to happen. I hadn't thought of something.
it cheered Roger and me up to decorate our house to the nth degree. So I'll send you a video, Lucille, showing you how it looks since you can't come see it.
I was out.
Clauses.
I was out driving in Chris's neighborhood yesterday. I've been hauling things over to the kids because we don't get together and we can't go in, but I realized I can still bake. And we're lucky here at Applewood because what people are doing, they can't see their families and we can't see each other. So people are cooking up a storm, and you'll find little things outside your door. So I've been baking for my neighbors and then hauling things over to the kids, and we talk in the front yards. So. And the decorating outside, oh my gosh, there's a house over in Hopkins that is just over the top. But it was so fun to drive by. They just went all out. I think there's a lot more outside decorating this year than I've ever seen before. That's how people are cheering themselves up.
Carol, I live in Hopkins. We live in Hopkins, and that house is famous. I forget which avenue it's on.
I think it's 12th
Avenue. And
I've never seen it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
it's outrageous.
You can see sometimes a little parade of cars going by that street to see that. But I was thinking to myself and taking our little dog out, Lily, out for a walk last night, that now our neighborhood is starting to glow with outdoor lights. So I wonder if there's a little competition going on here. And yesterday at Hermanos, your son Chris told us that he's part of the luminary. His neighborhood has they set out luminaries. Is that right?
Yes. He's head of his neighborhood association. I think he said there are 400 or 500 people. I mean, it's caught the media's attention that they're going to. It's Christmas Eve. You could just drive around in the area in Hopkins, just south of Highway 7, and Chris and Terry are on 7th Avenue. But it's going to be just beautiful.
Last night I had found one thing that we could drive and see, and it was in Sahuarita, not so far away. So we got up within maybe 2 miles of it, and traffic was just locked.
Wow. Oh.
So Lyle whipped a U in the middle of the street and we left. And this morning I said, thank goodness we didn't have a 5-year-old with us who was dying to see this. And we had to listen to crying and bribe with ice cream and whatever else. But I was really disappointed because there isn't that much down here. I mean, sporadically, but they have a big, I don't know how, a big neighborhood that's many, many houses, and they block traffic. You can't drive in the neighborhood. You have to walk. And it's set up with maps, and it's just fantastic. We've done it before. This year they canceled it.
We drove over
because you had to walk, and so it would draw too many people, even though it was outside.
We drove over to Wayzata Community Church. They were advertising in the paper their story, and they have all the trees full of lights, and then a Christmas story at 6 or 7 different locations. So you turn off your lights and then follow the car in front of you and listen to the Christmas stories. They're put on mostly by the children. It was nice.
Cool.
There's a meteorite shower tonight after midnight if you want something to watch.
That would be nice if I was.
I'm sorry, there's a curfew here. I can't do that.
There is a curfew.
Is there?
10 o'clock. Yeah. In Tucson. It doesn't extend down here, but in our elder community, nobody is up at 10 o'clock. Dead.
We came back home after dark last night, and there was all these lights in various places. Pulled into our house, it was dark, and I realized we've got lights strung on our fence. I've never occurred to me to turn them on. I mean, I mean, that's how. Oh yeah, right. This is because it hasn't snowed. It doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, but see, I got red on. I mean, so, hi, Brendan. How are you?
Doing all right, hanging in there.
Is your daughter in daycare or not? No.
She is so far. She's been in there for the last 2 weeks, and we're just kind of holding our breath. She had spent about 3 weeks at home with us, based on a positive case there, and then the holiday break. So we're just waiting and hoping. It's sort of the tricky thing. You send her back, and then at the drop of a dime, you can get the call of, all right, come pick her up and figure out the next 14 days. Which is, I'm sure that many of you have been through that as parents or caregivers for a sick day. But it's hard when it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And in this case, we're other than her being at daycare, we're fully isolated. We're not visiting Grandma Barb or Grandpa Jim right now, just with community spread being so wide. So it's, it's doable. We've got a lot of privileges, a lot of ways that things are going well for our family, but it's at the same time, it's exhausting and really hard. It's really logistically and physically hard being a parent of a little kid right now. And I think it's really emotionally hard being a parent of a middle schooler or high schooler right now too. So it's,
Speaking of someone with COVID, Chuck Holmeyer he's struggling still. I'm sorry to say. He said he has a terrible cough and he had some oxygen issues, but they're still recovering in their apartment here. And then somebody else down the hall from me, another couple have had it. When the woman is in for 4 days, has been in the hospital. It's pretty scary. You just need to stay in your house. Really, I'm finding it very scary right now. Anyway.
I was talking yesterday to Herb Holt, who some of you know, and Mary was out for a walk with her friends, with a friend. And so Herb and I got to talking, and I was asking him how things were going, and he said not well at all. That he's having a hard time keeping Mary in the present. She keeps forgetting where she is and why she's where she's living. And he said it's very, very hard. She's not understanding that Christmas is coming and that she won't be able to be with anybody with the exception of her daughter, Sally. And he said, what I'm feeling most sad about is that I don't have the will to write Christmas cards or do my Christmas calls. I always look forward to calling my friends and family around the country. And he says, I don't want to do it this year. And I'm feeling so very sad. And so we were talking about that and what our feelings were. And I said, well, the one thing that absolutely surprised me was that Eden Prairie Senior Living is a Christmas wonderland. Everything is decorated. We've got trees in all of the different areas decorated. There's all kinds of little villages on walls and things, and flowers, and there's Christmas stockings, fire in the fireplace, and it looks wonderful. But everybody who has been here since last November and December said, oh, but we're not going to have the Christmas party. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. And basically people, as you say, Connie, are staying in their apartments and they're not really getting out and about, even at social distancing. So then along comes the chef. And I said to Tom, was talking to him about everything, and he said, I am so heartbroken. We can't have our big Christmas party this year. And so he has figured out that he's going to try to make some of the goodies that he made for the Christmas party, the hors d'oeuvres and things. He's trying to figure out how to add a couple or three of those to everybody's meals on some days or not, some special days to brighten everybody up. And he said, I figure when I'm really getting down about this whole thing, I need to cook.
Yep.
So he says, I'm trying to figure out things to do. And he said, New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, I'm not sure which, is going to be prime rib. He said, whoa, you're going to try to do prime rib for this entire building? And he said, yeah, I'm going to do that. And he says, I'm hoping to have some shrimp hors d'oeuvres that will go along with it and such. And so it was neat to hear him trying to make good, but people are, like you said, it's just like, oh yes, Christmas is coming. Oh, it's weird. So anyway.
Carol, sorry for your extended family's loss.
Oh, thanks, Roger. For those of you who didn't hear, my daughter-in-law's, Chris's wife's dad died 2 days before Thanksgiving of COVID. And that's, I have friends and family on Facebook who happen to support Trump and still believe this virus is a hoax. And to have someone die in your family, I have been angry, Brennan. I find myself angry sometimes.
I have a favor to ask. Does anybody have a computer they're not using that they would loan to Jerry Cleveland? His computer is not functioning. I have agreed to teach him how to Zoom if he has a computer, but I don't have an extra one to share. Does anybody?
I do. I have just a little old laptop. He won't be able to do much with it, but it's relatively new, and he can Zoom on it.
Huh.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
How can I get that from you?
If you send me, do you know how to use chat? If you send me your email address or phone number on chat, I'll connect with you after.
Okay.
We can figure it out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
How are June and Jerry doing physically?
Dick?
Can you say that again, Jean?
How are June and Jerry doing physically?
June doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So Jerry is sort of living by himself in terms of any kind of stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they now?
They're in a nursing home in Long Lake, is that right?
No, Arno. Arno.
Arno.
Arno.
Thanks.
I've seen, this is for you, Don, I've seen that star behind, rather that flag behind you. It's a 48-star flag, and there has to be a story behind it, and if you're willing, I would love to hear it.
Yes. I was hoping someone would notice that because it is an interesting story. Our son-in-law, John, was and our daughter, Lynn, were out in South Carolina and it's from what I remember of the story, and went into to an antique store, and here was this flag 48, which is the original Minnesota flag that was when they came in to be a state. So that's, I suppose, Chris, you already knew the explanation of the 48.
I assumed that it was a flag from the Korean War, but I don't know. That
No,
wasn't there weren't 48 states when Minnesota joined in 1858 or 59.
I may have to run to the kitchen here and get an update, which I will, so that I tell you, because it's been a while since we talked about that here at the family, but it was a big issue. They noticed that and they got it for the home. And so it is on the fireplace here. And I'll try, Chris, to get more updated information for you, because it is unique. And it has some, some issues with the flag itself. So it was original, and it's a great piece to have in the home.
How did it arrive in your hands?
Well, our son-in-law bought it when he went into that antique store.
Okay.
And that's how it got here. And I don't think, from what I remember of the story, and I'll find out again, I don't think there's many of them that are out in the public.
I haven't seen one.
Can you zoom us in, Don, to see it better? I've seen it another day, but.
Well, let's see what I can do.
Don't get seasick here.
Well, you're going to get a bigger picture than I am.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
Has it got
Oh.
two holes in it? Is that what I've seen?
I'm sorry?
Is it a reflection on the glass, or does it have holes in it?
It's covered with glass, but it does have some holes in it. And that's why I said it's original. And you can even see out here on the side where the flag was, the holes that held the flag up on probably a pole, those were wore through. And then the interesting thing is that these 48 stars are, in blue. And back then, one part of the story I remember, they made stars, these flag parts of the flag were made like with extra stars. So that's why it looks like it's hand done around each edge.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can see that that's a 48.
Oh, and so if you had a flag that was 46, then you had extra stars if you needed them, and you could put them on. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's extra stars on the material.
Okay.
So
Alaska and Hawaii are the 49th and 50th. What was the 48th state?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got it.
Chris, do you remember the year? Right now, I'm drawing a blank on the year that Minnesota came in, but was it like
1858?
57?
58.
Okay.
I'll look it up. I
All right.
I cannot mess it up.
1858.
Yeah, 1858.
right?
That sounds
Okay.
good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you noticed that, Chris. It is interesting.
It is.
And Excelsior was started in 1854.
And there are only 30 some in
So,
only 30 some states.
yeah.
Well, thanks for showing and sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure, I know we've got a plan to break into small groups in a little bit so that folks can have a more intimate conversation. But I want to make sure to get a couple of announcements in. So I'm going to see the breadth in the conversation here to do so. Nancy, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to give a reminder on the Solidarity Supplies donations. And Cindy Iden, if you want to chime in with any of the extra Christmas donations, I'd welcome you to follow too. But so I can do my pitch first. Things I want to share. Christmas Eve, as with years past, we're going to have a 4 p.m. service we found that that's a good time, especially if we want our youngest to be able to watch along and participate, that's a helpful time. So we're going to stick to that 4 p.m. slot. It'll premiere live on Facebook and YouTube, just like our regular services do. So that's our Christmas Eve service at 4 p.m. And then the other piece,
At the proper time.
so this Sunday morning, we have our Christmas pageant, which is going to be a lot of fun. Christmas Eve, we're going to have a traditional lesson and carols. We want to kind of embrace the thing that we would normally do. On the 20th, next Sunday, in between, in place of the normal kind of joy and fanfare, we're going to have a lesson or a service that focuses on lessons or maybe hard insights that we have come to during this difficult year. If you think about it, much of the Christmas story is actually spent in the dark of night and often alone or with separation from family or for friends. That's certainly been a lot of what we've done this past year. And I've been thinking about how sometimes, in the dark of night or in places when we are maybe feeling alone, we can also see or learn new things. So I'd love to share any lessons, insights, or even little blessings that you all have found along the way, much like our service of gratitude a few weeks back. So if you have something you'd like to share, I'd welcome a few sentences by email, or if you're feeling ambitious, to record a video of yourself just sharing it. And then I'll hopefully be able to lift up some insights from our wider community next week. So have you found a blessing or an insight in the dark of night during this difficult season? If so, please share my way. And the more you all share, the less I have to hog the spotlight. So keep them coming. Okay, with that, Nancy and Cindy, I have stalled, and now you are both officially on the spot for announcement about this week's Solidarity Supply Drive and Christmas donations. Let's start with you, Nancy.
Okay, this Thursday from 5:30 to 6:45, we will be collecting items for the Division of Indian Work again. And we'll also be doing that on Saturday from 11:30 until 1. This will be the third time or the third month that we've done this. And we hope that people's generosity continues to flow. We've added some new items that have come, new requests that have come from the Division of Indian Work, and those are listed in the Thursday email that you got. But a big one that really makes sense is the need for blankets, both adult and children. All you have to do is drive to the church's upper parking lot, and volunteers, Lucille and I on Thursday, will be there to take the items from your car. You don't have any contact. We'll just pop them all out. And the other thing is, if you can get word to people on your social network by posting an announcement about that, you can go to our Facebook page and copy that and post it. We've had some good response from the community, but we would love to have more. And finally, if you find that you're isolating and not able to be out shopping, you can send a check to the church, made out to the Division of Indian Work, or made out to St. Luke with the Division of Indian Work in the memo. So thank you all so much for participating and for passing the information along to others. Cindy?
Thanks, Nancy. And so I'm going to piggyback on that in a variety of ways, actually. So we decided to go ahead and put together a giving tree, even though we can't pick ornaments off the tree. And we will continue to do a giving tree for ICA, for Pine Ridge, for Move Forward, and for Liberty School. And those will be, there's information in the last bulletin about that. Mostly gift cards, obviously, this year. And with the exception of Pine Ridge, and those will be, they're looking for blankets. And the blankets will end up going to Ceci, and she will get them out there. When you bring those to the church, would you please label it clearly? Because we want to make sure that the Division of Indian Works gets the blankets that they need, and we want to make sure that the blankets that are going to Pine Ridge get there. And so, yes, so we're looking for gift cards. Also, you know, big thanks to Nancy and Lucille for handling this at the church. So again, you will deliver it at the church during the same delivery hours, or you can send a check to the church. You could also send, there's more details. You could take your blankets directly to Ceci also if you wanted to, and drop it off with her. Please let her know that you're going to be doing that. Let's see, what else do you need to know?
I posted the items in the chat.
Good, thank you.
Katie Williams had a question. Do the blankets need to be new?
Yes.
Lori, do you want to answer that for Division of Indian Work?
They do not need to be new.
Okay. Okay. Ceci is asking for new ones for Pine Ridge.
Washed and in good condition.
Yeah, obviously. Great.
Good. And please do label those so that it's clear where it's going.
Okay, well, shall we break into smaller groups then? I'll just do it randomly, so hopefully you like the people you get.
We're all good neighbors.
No choice.
So maybe I do not know how to do this, Brennan.
Yep, it's working. I'll stay here as folks go, just in
Okay.
case anyone needs help, but they have to click the join button.
Oh, okay.
And usually there's a few folks whom take a little longer to find their join button, or maybe their internet's lagging a little behind, but. So Dick, you should have a button that says join breakout room somewhere.
For Larry and I. And the theme is, since we can't be together, the family will come and be with you. So they made a Christmas tree, and the ornaments are all the various members
Look at
of our
that.
family. And one exception, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Oh,
because we've been doing all those postcards and things.
yeah.
And Nancy said they've been so much a part of our family, we just gave them honorary family position. But each day, Larry and I open an envelope, and in the envelope is one of those tiny ornaments, and it's another person in our family. So we've got this in the living room, and so our family is with us even this crazy year. So I thought that was pretty darn creative of those two to come up with that.
Very clever. I'm going to borrow that for next year.
Yeah, I think it's just marvelous for everybody. So anyway.
Well, we might be doing some family togetherness. I have kind of joined my son's bubble to take that 5-year-old when everybody's at home working and in school. So
Potato salad. Somehow eating potato salad was the detail he picked up on that was a paramount of domestic bliss. And it was sweet. It was very characteristic of the generation, I think. And I don't know where those are right now. I have moved around a little bit since then, and I may have had them shorn off me at some point.
I realized one day, as most of you know, my poems fall out of my head. I don't sit down and think, I'll write a poem today. And one fell out that I was thinking about how I grew up, that it isn't too much different from how it is now. My mom and I were poor, and luckily right now I'm not poor, but we lived in a small apartment. We had nothing. We had no car. We had no TV. We had no radio. We didn't have a stove. We cooked on a hot plate. We didn't have a washing machine. We had to borrow our landlady's washing machine. So I read, and that's how I got started. I had my typewriter. So I wrote and I read, and we were kind of cocooned up because we didn't have access to a lot of the things that some of my friends had. So this isn't really too much different. I just tucked back in with my books and my writing again, and it's something sort of oddly familiar about it. I think it must be much harder to think about the kids. You know, for us, we remember when the only way you communicated was letters and an occasional phone call. If it was somebody who lived far away, it cost a lot of money to call long distance. So, and with calling somebody overseas was unthinkable. So it must be harder for them because they're so used to quick access to everything, and being close to everybody. So, although they have their phones, but still different.
I know that the young people in my life are having a tough time.
Yeah.
Yeah, our 3 boys, they've all dealt with or dealing with anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
I just wrote to a college friend of mine. I told her yesterday that I've never recommended therapy more.
Yeah.
In my life, and I have these past months. You need to be in therapy. Get a therapist. Have you thought about seeing a therapist?
I have a 45-year-old son who fortunately works in a COVID-resistant industry. He is a wine and liquor distributor.
Huh.
So that industry is going great guns, right?
Yeah. It sure is.
Well, I suppose it's encouraging with the kids' dependence on electronics that it shows that even if you have your laptop or computer or your phone or your iPad or whatever, they still want that. They still want to see each other. They want to be together.
Well, for my kids too, it's they're starting out on their lives and they can't do anything. Yeah. Like Christian's graduating from law school in the spring.
Yeah.
He's in a senior year in law school right now. And he has zero hope of anything, of getting a job. Fortunately, he has a job in his field. He's working in a firm right now, but it's part-time. He gets paid almost nothing because, that's what they can get away with.
Yeah.
And it's, he's just frustrated.
Yeah.
He's just frustrated. And he's been applying for other jobs for months now and hasn't gotten anything.
No.
That happened to my son too. He elected to become an X-ray technician, and he spent a year and a half and went into debt $25,000 to get that skill, which he thought would be eminently employable. However, he graduated in September of 2008 when everything collapsed. And he could not get employment for a year. And at that point, he gave up because the schools were continuing to generate recently educated people in that field. And who's the hospital going to hire? Somebody who has been out unemployed for a year or the fresh recruit. So he lost all of that preparation time. It just went away.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Not much.
And Mike, you're, no, the three of us, if I think I'm right, we're all retired, but you're still working.
I am, and so I went to the movie thing last night, Carol.
Yeah, I felt bad I couldn't come.
I mentioned in there that I've never been happier to be employed than I am right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, part of it's just the monetary bit, but the larger part is just to have something to do every day.
Yes.
And to break the weeks up, you know, it's like, oh, it's Friday now. I guess I'll do something different for a couple of days. But otherwise, the routine is just, you know, overwhelming.
Yeah.
And a year ago, you were fantasizing about retiring.
Yeah, well, I'm still doing that. But for right now, it's nice to have the activity.
Are you working from home, I assume? You're working
yeah.
from home?
Yep.
Yeah. Good.
I realized too, it's as stressful as this year's. I did not want to join our board here. I did it because my slogan was somebody has to do it, and it's been a very stressful year, and I hadn't realized how much work it was going to be. But then I also realized I had a job, kind of a part-time job, that's kept me busy, and frequent meetings because we have to go to all the committee meetings, and so I get to see people here that I normally would see down at coffee or happy hour. So I felt more connected. So that was an odd result of being on the board, was I sort of have a part-time job with it. It would be, it provides, like you said, to make a little bit of structure to the week. And I've tried to carve out, ever since I retired, it was so fun to have weekends when you were working, that I've tried to set up my schedule so that there's still something fun about the weekend. Like I don't let myself do any housework on the weekend, or I don't have to exercise on Sunday, and Friday night is pizza night or movie night, because just look forward to weekends so much when you were working.
About a year ago, before COVID, I was aware that I was just doing the next thing, getting through the day. And I realized I wasn't getting to the really important cultural stuff I was interested in, like intentionally listening to classical music. I've always wanted to do that. So I came up with this idea of what I ended up calling Fridays. I imagined myself having a one-day weekend, and it was going to be on Friday, and I was going to give myself permission to not do anything necessary. Like no movies, no housework, no errands, no nothing. For 8 hours, I was going to do the important stuff for me. I was never able to make it happen for not for lack of imagination, but mostly for the abundance of too much other stuff to do. Well, about 2 weeks ago, I put it on the calendar and said, you're going to do a 4-hour Friday next Tuesday. You're just going to do it. And I did. It was, that's giving myself permission to not do anything that just was a time hog. And the areas I'm most interested in are literature, music, art. Did I say music? Anyway, those it has to be that, and I managed to make it happen. It was delightful. I'm going to do it again.
That's a really good idea.
We need to refer to it as Free Day instead of Friday.
That's a good idea too. So Chris, did you see in an article, I don't know where I saw it, probably in the web somewhere, it was a mysterious tower that was discovered in rural Utah, but it was a takeoff on that. It was a 10-foot tall stack of ungraded papers.
Oh my goodness. Oh, yeah.
Of course, it
Yeah.
was a joke, but it was, I thought you'd be amused by that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, yeah. Those papers can stack up. Yeah, I actually, when the boys were little, I created a rule for myself that I never leave work with papers. I never took home papers, and that worked for the whole time that I had children at home. And then at one point, I did start taking them home, but that was when the boys were old enough to help me. So I would set them up to add up the points, for the whatever the assignment was. I would grade it, but then there'd be all these numbers, and they'd have to add them up for me, add up the points, so that the student would get 50 out of 50 or whatever the assignment was. And I would pay them for doing the math for me. And so that became a kind of game. They would be at the counter doing that, and I'd be while I was finishing up the grading. So it became a kind of fun thing. But
Welcome back.
We're up again.
So did that work? You were able to talk in a small group?
Yes.
Okay. This is the first time I've done the breakout thing.
We don't have everybody. There we go.
Yep.
Everybody's coming back.
You're not out. Quite make it. Yeah, sleep.
Mike, do you walk on the Dakota Trail up to Wayzata?
Sometimes, not very often actually. I live in Plymouth, so I'm near the Loose Line Trail.
Right, but Roger and I were biking a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago out there, and I was pretty sure after I flew by you that it was you. It was about 4 o'clock, 3:30 or 4.
Could have been. I tend to take a lot of long walks, especially these days.
Yeah.
It was in the newspaper, some good news about the Dakota biking trail. Wayzata is going to commit to removing the snow for 2 miles. And other communities may do the same thing. So they allow biking and walking this winter.
It's usually not maintained after November 15th. But they're, as Roger said, they're planning to extend that this year, so.
Great.
I think it's funny when I walk from my house towards Wayzata, because if I go down either the Loose Line Trail or what's the lake, Gleason Lake Road, it's plowed until I get to the border of Wayzata, and then it's every man for himself, just plow through the snow and ice and whatever you need to do.
Oh, right, that's funny. Why is that of all places?
Yeah, right.
Well, Cindy did a great job with Grandmother's Hands. Thank you, Cindy.
Oh, thank you, Connie. That was really an interesting group and rewarding. It was very rewarding. Yeah.
So I didn't know if anyone had any final announcements or anything they wanted to make before we break apart here.
I have one, Mike. You know, line 3 is, I've been very involved in the line 3 resistance, and Monday they dig a huge trench through the Mississippi. And anyway, I'm bringing up things like hand warmers and gloves and things like that to the resistance. Some meals, because our cabin is a couple hours from there, so it's possible to bring meals. So just to kind of, it's heartbreaking, you know, what's going on in the parks there, and the removal of the beautiful forest, and just the really the tearing apart of the Mississippi and the wetlands. So so anyway, if I think I'll probably maybe in the St. Luke E-Blast put in needs, because I do think I'll be going up there every week. I can't, unfortunately, risk arrest because I have medical stuff that I have to do, and I don't know if the police are going to be kind enough to let me out of jail to do it. So anyway, but we will be bringing up supplies to the Palisade for the pipeline resistors.
Oh, good.
Lori, do you see any way that the new administration will be able to either slow some of that down or?
They're for fracking.
Well, there is, but there is a hope right in Minnesota. Walls could stop this. I mean, I've sent out, and I'm probably some of you have seen the calls to Walls. I think Judy put it in this week's e-blast. So he's under a lot of pressure. And so he could stop this yet. So it's not really, the power to stop this isn't in Washington, or it could be, but it doesn't need to be, because Walls can stop this. He can put a stay on construction and say, let's look at this one more time. Do we really need? Because our Commerce Department said, we don't need this. Our own Minnesota Commerce Department said, we don't need this. And then, you know, they reversed themselves and said, oh, okay, well, we'll go along with this. And the Pollution Control Agency here in Minnesota had 13 members, including Winona Waduke, that walked out. You know, they were advisors to the PUC, and they walked out. So we had a Zoom, I think it was last week, and, you know, over 1,000 members, including Bill McKibben, were on that Zoom. I'm sure that, I know that Judy was on it. I think there were other people from St. Luke and certainly from Indivisible up here, but that's some pretty serious pressure. So Walls is the one that has the power here to do it. And I'll if you check your e-blast, I think she put something in about that, but I'll also send out next week exactly what you need to say. Because sometimes here's the number, here's what you say is the easiest way to get people to respond. I appreciate that myself when I'll make the call if somebody helps me with the text and stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that, because it's one of the most tragic actions are happening next week, and the indigenous people from the tribes that are on both sides of the line, as far as where the line is being placed. White Earth and Red Lake will be there. And Enbridge has already said they've hired private security, and they will fight this to maximum. They will put water hoses on the indigenous people. They will mace them. They will do whatever they have to get them out of the way so they can lay their pipes through the Mississippi.
It's ridiculous that when we don't need less and less.
Well, yeah, because that's
oil.
part of the, you're right, Connie, that's part of the fight is it's a stranded asset. You know, we don't need it.
Right.
This isn't where our future's going. So why are we doing this to our most pristine part of Minnesota? If you've been to the headwaters is impacted by this
Right.
this work.
Goes through Itasca. It goes through Itasca, does
yes.
it?
And when they take these tree cutters, I was watching a video of them, they can take down 2 big trees at a time. They have these big blades and they just fly through these trees and take them down. It's just, it's just heartbreaking.
Quick question. I heard someone say, because we're talking about this, that it's the pipeline is there, but this is replacing where the pipeline goes.
No.
That right? Okay,
That
I
is
didn't
a
think that
total, that's what all the papers say, and that's
Yeah,
the line
they
of
show
Enbridge.
the
pipeline that's there is leaking and it's awful and whatever, but this is a whole, that is not going to be replaced. That's going to stay in
Right.
the ground, leaking and toxic and horrible. And they're actually building a bigger pipeline in a whole new area.
Right. I see the location of it is, but this person was arguing that, well,
Yeah.
it's just going to replace the deteriorating pipeline.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the propaganda. They decided to call it replacement so people would think that and go, well, there's one there already. But no, now there'll be 2 rotting in the ground up there.
I'm sure there's some grain of truth to it. Like there's probably some section where they are going to do a replacement, and then they can say, hey, it's more about a replacement than a new thing. You know, sort of a misinformation campaign that's bending, you know, 1 10-foot section to try to just gloss this over. And you know, I think there's a reason why this is happening during the holiday season, and during the pandemic.
Well, we're
Right.
distracted. We're distracted by
If you,
virus.
I mean, if you put in line 3 in Google, you can see where the 2 lines are. The second one, much longer.
Yeah, I could see that it was big, longer.
Yeah.
Covering more area. And they're pushing the jobs aspect of it. And what else I've read is that the jobs, they're actually bringing in people from outstate to lay the line. So it's not helping Minnesotans at all. But leave that.
You know, the whole COVID concern. So the Health and Human Services people were there saying, and I know I talked to some of my friends up there and they were saying, you know, they're not masks. They come in with, they're all in pickups. They're in, you know, CAMs, Texas, South Carolina, Georgia. You know, they're people that have no vested interest in you know, the people or the state of Minnesota. So it's very dangerous.
So let's we got to wrap this here to get to worship, but thank you, Lori, for sharing that. And maybe if we can all, you know, to the degree that we have space, please pay attention this week and next, and do some reading and some research. And when there are chances to make advocacy calls or coordinate donations, absolutely. And for lack of, you know, I think there's helpful things, that political pressure too, but I would encourage us to also please pray and send our strength to those who are trying to resist and protect native land sovereignty and the beauty of our natural land up there as well. As I mentioned, our worship service this morning is the multi-generational Christmas pageant. So I hope that will come as a nice joyful break from a lot of this heavy stuff. It's important to do both. So I hope that we can all have some good laughs and love during this time in the season. And let's also be paying attention and make sure that we're doing the work too. So joy to you all, courage and focus to you all, and let's take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.